At first glance, house number 417 looked no different from the others on Hawthorne Street. Same structure. Same porch. Same silence. But on the night of March 12, 2019, something happened here that never appeared in official records. At exactly 2:17 a.m., an emergency call was made from this address. The caller sounded frightened, breathless, and desperate. Yet when dispatch systems were reviewed later, the call did not exist. No number. No signal trail. Only an audio file saved automatically by a backup recorder. A voice asking for help from inside a house that, according to records, had been empty for years. This is the story of that call. And the house that refuses to stay silent. The night shift at the emergency dispatch center was unusually quiet. Calls were routine. Nothing stood out, until one operator received a connection without caller information. The voice on the line was faint but clear enough to understand. It belonged to a woman. She whispered urgently, asking for immediate help. She gave only one detail before the line distorted: house number 417. Seconds later, the call disconnected. When the operator attempted to log the call, the system showed nothing. No timestamp. No recording. No trace that it ever happened. Except for one anomaly: a secondary system had captured the audio. A system meant only for internal testing. That file would soon become the center of an investigation no one was prepared for. Officers were dispatched to the address as a precaution. When they arrived, house number 417 was completely dark. The property showed signs of long-term abandonment. Dust coated the windows. The lawn was overgrown. No vehicles were present. The front door was unlocked, swaying slightly in the wind. Inside, the house was empty. No furniture. No personal belongings. No signs of recent activity. Yet the air felt heavy. Cold. As if the house had been disturbed moments earlier. Officers searched every room but found no one. Officially, the call was classified as a system error. Unofficially, several officers reported feeling watched the entire time they were inside. Further review revealed something troubling. House number 417 had a history. 5 years earlier, a family of 3 lived there. One night, neighbors reported screams. Police arrived to find the house empty, again. No bodies. No forced entry. The case went cold within weeks. Financial records showed sudden withdrawals. Phones were left behind. The family was never found. The house was sealed and later abandoned. Now, years later, an emergency call had come from the same address. Using a voice that matched one of the missing residents. According to forensic audio analysis, the voice on the call was not generated. It was human. And it was terrified. When experts enhanced the audio file, new details emerged. Beneath the woman's voice, another sound could be heard. Slow footsteps. And a second voice, male, calm, whispering something unintelligible. The most disturbing detail came at the end of the recording. A final sentence, barely audible, spoken not into the phone, but close to the caller. He is already inside. The call ended abruptly. No scream. No struggle. Just silence. Investigators now faced an impossible question. How could an abandoned house place an emergency call? And why did the voice belong to someone officially missing, and presumed dead? The audio file was sent to a forensic sound laboratory for deeper analysis. Specialists confirmed the recording had not been edited or manipulated. The background noise matched the electrical frequency common in older residential homes. More importantly, the voice pattern aligned closely with archived recordings of the missing woman from house number 417. Pitch, tone, and speech rhythm were nearly identical. This meant one thing. The call was either made by the same person, or by something imitating her with impossible accuracy. Investigators noted another anomaly. The audio contained subtle distortions that suggested the recording equipment was not functioning normally at the time of the call. It was as if the signal itself had been forced through. Whatever made that call had overcome systems designed to prevent exactly this kind of occurrence. Property records revealed a detail previously overlooked. House number 417 was built on land once occupied by a temporary shelter in the 1950s. Records showed multiple incidents of violence, disappearances, and unexplained deaths at that location. Over the decades, structures changed, but the incidents continued. Each report described the same pattern: sudden fear, emergency calls, and people vanishing without evidence. Investigators began to suspect that the house itself was not the source. The land was. House number 417 was simply the latest structure standing over something unresolved. Something that repeated its cycle patiently, waiting for the right conditions to return. Police were authorized to re-enter the house for a secondary search. This time, the atmosphere felt different. The silence was heavier. As officers moved through the hallway, their flashlights caught a shadow at the far end, standing still, human-shaped, and unnaturally dark. It disappeared the moment light touched it. Thermal cameras showed brief cold zones forming near doorways, then vanishing. No physical evidence was recovered, yet officers reported nausea, dizziness, and disorientation. One officer later stated that the house felt occupied. Not by people, but by memory. As if past events were replaying themselves, layered invisibly over the present. 3 nights later, it happened again. Another emergency call. Same time. Same whispering voice. Same address. Once again, the main system showed no record. Only the backup captured the audio. The words were identical. Even the breathing matched the previous recording. Investigators realized they were not dealing with new calls, but repetitions. Like a moment trapped in time, replaying itself endlessly. Each call ended the same way, with silence and a faint presence close to the caller. The system logs showed no technical explanation. Whatever was making these calls was not bound by normal rules. As evidence accumulated, a disturbing theory emerged. The calls were not requests for help. They were recordings of a crime, looping endlessly from the place it occurred. House number 417 was not reaching out, it was replaying its trauma. Each call was a fragment of a moment when fear peaked and escape failed. The house, or the land beneath it, had become a recorder. A silent witness. And every time the clock struck 2:17 a.m., the memory played again. Waiting for someone to listen. Waiting for someone to understand what really happened inside house number 417. With repeated calls coming from the same address, authorities sealed off house number 417 once again. This time, the investigation was treated differently. Forensic teams documented every inch of the property, searching for anything that might explain how a call could be made from an abandoned structure. Rain poured heavily that night, washing over the driveway and soaking the ground around the house. Yet inside, dust patterns suggested recent movement. Footprints appeared faintly on the staircase, forming and fading without a clear source. Officers reported hearing a phone ringing from inside the walls, though no wiring remained. The house seemed to respond to attention, becoming more active the closer investigators looked. What was once dismissed as a technical glitch now felt deliberate. As if the house was drawing them back in, insisting its story be acknowledged. House number 417 was no longer just a location. It had become an active crime scene, one that refused to stay quiet. During a detailed structural inspection, investigators discovered a sealed crawl space behind the living room wall. Inside, they found old clothing fibers and dark stains absorbed into the wood. Initial forensic testing suggested the stains were consistent with human blood, heavily degraded by time. No body was ever recovered, but the evidence suggested violence had occurred here. The space was small, barely enough for a person to move. Investigators theorized that someone had been trapped, unable to escape, their fear peaking in those final moments. This discovery aligned disturbingly well with the emergency calls. The whispered desperation. The urgency. The sense of someone already inside. House number 417 wasn't just replaying sound. It was preserving a crime. A moment of terror etched into its structure, repeating endlessly, waiting for someone to understand what had truly happened behind these walls. Forensic analysts overlaid the emergency call audio with old home videos recovered from the missing family's belongings. The match was undeniable. The voice belonged to the mother. Age, stress, and fear had altered it slightly, but the identity was clear. This raised an impossible question. How could her voice still be calling for help years after her disappearance? Experts proposed a controversial theory. Extreme emotional trauma, combined with violent death, can leave residual imprints, recorded not on tape, but on place itself. Walls. Wiring. Even air. House number 417 appeared to function like a broken recorder, replaying a moment it could not release. Each call was not a new event, but a fragment of the past bleeding into the present, triggered at the exact time the crime occurred. Attention turned to the time itself. 2:17 a.m. Financial records revealed that a large cash withdrawal was made from the family's account minutes after that time on the night they vanished. Investigators now believed the emergency call marked the exact moment control was lost. The moment fear overtook reason. The moment escape became impossible. Each night, as the clock reached 2:17, environmental sensors recorded sudden temperature drops, electrical interference, and unexplained signal spikes. The house reacted as if remembering. Not reliving, but warning. The calls were not asking for rescue anymore. They were repeating a lesson carved into time. A reminder of what happens when violence goes unanswered and truth is buried instead of faced. After weeks of investigation, authorities withdrew once more. Officially, the case remained unsolved. Unofficially, no one wanted to stay near house number 417 after dark. Neighbors reported seeing lights turn on briefly in empty rooms. Some claimed to hear a phone ringing faintly in the distance, always at the same time. The calls eventually stopped being logged, even by backup systems. But the house did not fall silent. It simply waited. House number 417 remains standing today, untouched and uninhabited. A place where a crime never reached the courtroom, and a plea for help never reached its destination. In the end, the house became what it always was, a silent witness, holding on to the truth long after everyone else chose to walk away. Emma and Daniel, two civilian investigators documenting the case, ventured into the cellar where historical blueprints suggested hidden spaces. The air was thick, damp, and cold. Every step echoed unnaturally, as if the house were recording their presence. Dust swirled in the dim light from their flashlights. On one wall, faint markings were etched, resembling hurried handwriting, almost faded with time. Then came the sound, faint footsteps behind them, slow and deliberate, yet none could be seen. Recorders picked up soft whispers repeating fragmented words from the original 2:17 a.m. emergency call. The house seemed aware of their investigation, responding to attention as if it were alive. Shadows shifted unnaturally, reacting to their movements. Each discovery heightened fear, but also revealed the house's secret history, a cruel recording of past terror frozen in time, replayed nightly, forcing anyone who dared enter to confront the same horror the missing family had faced years before. While inspecting the basement further, they discovered a hidden crawlspace concealed behind a wooden panel. Inside, old fabric, and dark stains, now faded, hinted at violent activity long forgotten. Forensic analysis later suggested traces of human biological matter, degraded but unmistakable. The couple felt a suffocating heaviness inside the crawlspace, as if every fear, every terror ever felt here had condensed into the air itself. The whispers intensified, repeating cries for help from voices long gone. Emma realized the house had preserved the last moments of its victims, embedding them physically and emotionally into the walls. Daniel documented it meticulously, understanding that this wasn't just a haunted location, it was a living record, replaying trauma to anyone who entered. The house wasn't just haunted. It was interactive, intelligent in a way that defied conventional explanation, ensuring that house number 417 would remain a chilling testament to a crime frozen in time. Returning upstairs, they explored the living room where previous occupants were last seen. Dust covered every surface, yet the furniture seemed subtly disturbed, as if someone had just been there. Light from their flashlights revealed faint movement near the window, a shadowy figure that vanished the moment they approached. Audio devices recorded soft, hurried footsteps pacing the floor, yet no living being was present. The house was responding to observation, amplifying fear with every step they took. Emma and Daniel recognized a pattern. The house interacted with perception, echoing memories of past victims while creating new ones. Every sound, every movement, every flicker of shadow became part of a layered narrative. House number 417 did not just retain history, it enforced it. And anyone who entered became part of its ongoing story, forced to witness the horror of what had occurred, and replayed, endlessly. Outside, the house appeared normal at first glance. Yet the light from a single window flickered as though alive, casting shadows that moved unnaturally across the mist-covered lawn. Observers reported hearing faint ringing from inside, perfectly synchronized with the original 2:17 a.m. call. It was as if the house were signaling, warning, or replaying the final moments of someone trapped. Forensics confirmed no electrical source accounted for the illumination. House number 417 had become a paradox, abandoned yet occupied, silent yet screaming. Every encounter revealed another layer, more complex and terrifying than the last. The house's memory, grief, and fear manifested as shadow, sound, and temperature fluctuations. It was alive with the echo of a crime, an event that had no resolution, perpetually repeating for anyone daring to witness it. The mansion no longer belonged to the past. It had claimed the present. Authorities returned to document house number 417 once again, this time with the intention of thorough forensic analysis. Yet as they entered, the house seemed to anticipate their movements. Cold zones appeared along corridors, shadows stretched unnaturally, and audio recordings captured whispers in perfect sync with the original 2:17 a.m. call. Investigators reported nausea, dizziness, and sudden chills. Every measurement taken inside the house suggested a presence intelligent and reactive, beyond any scientific explanation. The house's history was woven into its very structure. Every wall, every floorboard, every room contained memories of the vanished family. House number 417 was no longer a crime scene. It was a record, a silent witness, preserving the terror that occurred, ensuring it would not be forgotten, and silently challenging all who dared to understand it. Inside, even the smallest disturbances became amplified. Candles flickered as if breathing, shadows formed humanoid shapes, and soft whispers filled the rooms. Emma and Daniel realized the house had memory embedded in physical space. Every object, every whisper, replayed a fraction of the night the family vanished. It was almost interactive. The house waited for observers to respond, to witness, to acknowledge its story. Audio devices recorded phrases from the original emergency call embedded beneath environmental sounds. The house wasn't haunting in the conventional sense, it was replaying evidence, emotions, and fear. Those who entered were not just witnesses, they became participants, entangled in an ongoing story that refused to end. Every creak, every draft, every unexplained movement was a message from the past, and house number 417 ensured it was received in full. Thermal imaging revealed what the human eye could not see. Cold zones shifted along hallways, forming vague humanoid shapes. The patterns intensified as observers moved through the house, fading when unobserved. It was as though the house reacted, learned, and adapted. The ghostly silhouettes aligned with previous family members, echoing moments captured on long-lost tapes. Analysts could not explain the behavior scientifically. Electrical anomalies, air pressure, and electromagnetic readings were recorded, yet none accounted for the coordinated movement. House number 417 had become a living archive, replaying trauma and embedding it into environmental patterns. Each night at 2:17 a.m., these events would recur, inviting anyone present to witness history as it unfolded, creating a chilling blend of crime, horror, and reality that refused to be ignored. Emma meticulously reviewed transcripts and audio files, noting patterns in repetition, intonation, and timing. Each new observation revealed the house's intelligence. The shadows behind windows, the rhythmic cold zones, the whispers repeating past events, all indicated interaction. It was as though house number 417 retained the consciousness of a crime, replaying it at its own discretion. Every detail mattered, every observer became part of the narrative. Daniel monitored multiple cameras, documenting the synchronized phenomena. The house was a silent storyteller, weaving horror, mystery, and evidence into a narrative no investigator could fully explain. For anyone stepping inside, reality bent subtly, creating a shared experience between the living and the echoes of the vanished. House number 417 was no longer just a house. It was a witness, alive in a way no one could have anticipated. Night fell over house number 417 once again. Fog wrapped the building in an almost ethereal veil. A single upstairs window flickered with light, casting strange, moving shadows across the lawn. Observers reported hearing faint phone ringing from the house, perfectly synchronized with the original call. It was clear the house retained its memory of that fateful night, replaying it for anyone who would notice. Experts were unable to intervene. The building's energy, its echoes, and its subtle manipulations created a presence that was intelligent, persistent, and unyielding. House number 417 had become an eternal archive, a silent witness to a crime that could never be fully resolved, ensuring the terror and mystery remained alive for generations to come. Finally, Emma and Daniel left house number 417. Dawn broke over the misty lawn, painting the overgrown garden in pale light. Though physically removed, the house's influence lingered. Every whisper, every shadow, every replayed moment remained etched in their minds. The emergency call, the vanished family, the recordings, the shadows, they had all become part of their experience. House number 417 endured silently, a witness to events no one else had seen. Emma later reflected that some places never truly release those who enter. The house retained memory, fear, and crime, ensuring that its story would persist long after anyone departed. In the end, house number 417 was not simply abandoned. It was eternal, watching, remembering, and waiting, silent, patient, and inexorably alive.